Last week, we built a really fun bike jump, and for one of my first builds, I think it actually turned out very nicely. Today though, we have to get started on something new, and we're going to be working on mainline. This berm comes right before the flow section, and to be honest, it actually kinda sucks. As you can see, this berm is very tight, and with the steepness that it's at now, it's not suitable for what we're trying to do. So the goal of this video, give the berm some flavor. We have 3 things in mind for this week's project, so here they are. We're going to make this berm taller and also steeper so that riders can have more fun. Lastly, we're going to add that fresh coat of dirt just so the berm doesn't dry out so quickly. I say we get started. First, we're gathering rocks, which will serve us 2 purposes. First, it will provide extra support for the existing berm, and second, it will act as a dirt substitute. I'm just putting these rocks in this pile without organizing them right now, and this is because we'll have a better sense of how many rocks we'll need later. It was definitely more helpful for me to gather bigger rocks because they're heavier, which means they'll provide more support. Now, we can organize these rocks. It was definitely helpful to put the bigger rocks in first and then use the smaller ones as bracing. This allows you to stack rocks higher, and this also provides a lot of support for the berm. Now, these rocks were sturdy and they were also in the exact place that we wanted them to be, so it turned out awesome. As you can see, all these rocks are pretty much level at the top, and that's exactly what you're looking for. Next, we're moving on to by far the hardest part of this entire build, which is getting dirt. We were actually using our source pit from down the hill because there weren't any good locations near the berm. Getting the dirt for this berm was not effortless in any way. First of all, the source pit was really far away from where we were actually building, so that made transporting the dirt a really long process. Also, this pit had gotten so deep that it kept containing too many rocks, and we didn't want those, so we had to keep manually picking them out. This source pit was also right next to a tree, which means that there were a lot of tree roots intruding into our pit. Though we did face these challenges, we were still able to get the dirt and get the berm finished by the end of the day. About halfway through the build, we dug this little bridge in the center of these 2 holes out, which was previously the walk-up. This was a much easier way to get dirt because this was much closer to the actual berm itself. It may look like we're adding way too much dirt for a berm of this side, but when dirt packs, it gets surprisingly lower. As you can see by all these time lapses that I've been showing you, this project took so much dirt, and it also wore my arms out from lifting all these buckets. After hours of getting dirt, we could finally move on to a fun part, raking and shaping the berm. When we were putting our buckets of dirt on, about half of the dirt fell forward and half of it backwards. The backwards dirt's fine, but we'll just need to pack it over the rocks later so that the berm doesn't cave in. The dirt on the front though, I'm pushing it down so that the berm angle is a little bit less steep than it was. In my opinion, raking the dirt is actually one of the most satisfying parts of the entire build, just because you can get some really nice angles and the dirt just looks super cool on the stage, especially with our awesome PNW dirt. Okay, enough with the satisfying dirt photos. Now, we need to get started on arguably one of the most important steps of this entire build, which is packing the dirt. I'm using my new flat shovel for this, and it's really helpful. The technique to packing this berm down is hitting it and then sliding the shovel forward to make smooth lines in the dirt. This also packs it really well, and it gives you a larger surface area of packing each time. If you didn't know, this tool is called a dirt tamper, and it's super helpful when you're building a berm. You see, this tool is very heavy on the bottom, and it really helps when you're packing this berm down. This tool is somewhat comparable to a McLeod if you know what that is, except it doesn't have the rake on one side. However, it does have a lot of weight and it makes it way better for packing things. I'm going over this berm thoroughly with the shovel one more time, just to ensure that it's very stable and sturdy when we're riding it. Before we get into any of that riding though, we're going to build another small berm right before it. This small berm will serve the purpose of carrying speed into the new berm, and it's going to be really helpful even though it's a small project. Even though this berm is much smaller, the process is relatively the same, aside from the amount of dirt you need. Once you get that dirt, you shape it with the rake and then thoroughly pack it to make sure it doesn't collapse. After this, both berms are ready to ride, so let's try it out.
Later.
The addition of this new berm really helps with carrying speed, and I think it's a great addition. That's the end of this week's build, and I hope you enjoyed. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next week.